So, without further ado, the next segment is looking at Bitcoin. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2014, and to see what is happening with the Bitcoin network right now and the creator economy there and bringing back development with ordinals, I'm very excited for this next panel. It is titled The Bitcoin Renaissance, the Future of Bitcoin NFTs and Ordinals. We have an incredible panel, and moderating this panel is Ileana Malacrino. Please put your hands together for this great panel.
Mics on, mics on, mics are on. Hello everyone, how is it going? We have some people, let's come and take some seats, let's sit down, let's get involved. Awesome. Thank you. I'm Ileana. I will be moderating this panel discussion for the next 40 minutes. We'll be talking about the future of ordinals and Bitcoin NFTs. A quick introduction. I work at the Stacks Foundation, NFT resident. My job is to help onboard more artists and creators to Bitcoin. So as you can imagine, the last 6 months in the Bitcoin space, for those of you that are involved, has been pretty amazing. We have seen Bitcoin become the second most used blockchain for NFTs, surpassing even Solana. And we've seen some really sick projects kind of creating. We have Yuga Labs, we have On-Chain Monkeys, and we have some amazing panelists here as well that have been really moving and doing so much. So it's been an exciting 6 months. So that being said, I will introduce you guys. First up, we have Brian, co-founder of Ordinals Bots, and also Satoshiable's NFT project. They were actually the first to bridge from Ethereum to Bitcoin, so super excited to talk about this. We have Mark. Product lead from Hiro Wallet, which is the most used and most trusted wallet for Bitcoin, stamps, ordinals, and of course stacks as well. And then next up, I'm going to go with next up, sorry. We have Julian, who is on the furthest from the right, co-founder of Liquidium. And then joining us, which is a new surprise today, we also have the co-founder, Hamza, of NeoSwap. So before we get into it, I will let you guys introduce yourselves, tell me a little about you, your project, and also how did you get involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem?
Yeah, perfect. Hello everybody, my name is Brian, I'm the co-founder of Ordinals Bot. We are an inscription service, so we make it really easy for people to create ordinals and inscribe files directly onto Bitcoin. Me, myself, I've been in the blockchain space since around 2018, and around about 2021 I launched an NFT collection on Ethereum, just at the right time when everyone was launching there. I actually launched a project called Satoshiables, which is a Bitcoin-themed NFT based around the whole lore of, nobody really knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and playing into that whole thing, which really excited me. So I launched that Bitcoin-themed NFT on Ethereum. Obviously got a lot of slack for that, like, why are you not launching it on Bitcoin? And at the time, everything was launching on Ethereum and no one was really doing anything on Bitcoin, apart from stacks. So then, once I launched on Ethereum, I bridged over to stacks, created an NFT bridge, and then more recently launched Ordinals Bot, because I see a huge, amazing future for Bitcoin and digital assets being built and projects being built on Bitcoin directly. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you all today.
I'm Mark, originally from San Francisco, and I live in Barcelona, Spain. I joined crypto about 5 years ago. Blockstack was the company. It's now called Hiro. It's the company that launched the Stacks network, which is basically an L2 for Bitcoin. Hiro Wallet was the original wallet for Stacks. And as of this year, we've also added Bitcoin support, as well as ordinals, stamps, BRC20, all these things that are associated with ordinals. Our view is really to be the sort of MetaMask for Bitcoin, if you will. Bitcoin traditionally doesn't have a MetaMask because it doesn't have smart contracts. With ordinals and with stacks, we've seen that there's a lot more you can do with Bitcoin than was previously sort of imagined. And so our goal is to basically power applications that want to bring Web3 to Bitcoin, which we view as really the most secure and most long-term stable blockchain and the best place for people to put to make long-term investments in crypto.
Thank you. Hey everyone, GM. My name is Hamza Diaz. I am a Chief Experience Officer and co-founder at NeoSwap. Backgrounds in full stack development, entrepreneur, also teaching blockchain in Barcelona's School of Economics. And yeah, basically at NeoSwap we are building revolutionary product using AI. And right now we're live on Bitcoin, Solana, Stacks, and we're trying to leverage NFT trading using AI. Come check us out. Yeah, really good to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And you can go next.
Yes, I'm Jay. I'm the co-founder of Liquidium. What we are doing, we are basically, we created the first P2P lending protocol on Bitcoin layer 1 for ordinals. So basically, you can put up your ordinal as collateral and borrow a native Bitcoin against. And on the other side, you can gain some Bitcoin if you want to lend them against an ordinal. And how I got into Bitcoin was originally through Stacks. So we wanted to build on Stacks first. We built on Stacks, did our MVP there, pivoted to ordinals, but also plan to go back to Stacks again once the new update will be out. And that's how how we got to build on Bitcoin. Yeah.
Awesome. Can you guys hear us okay? Yeah.
Kind of.
So I wanted to, you can't hear Mark, right? It's not that good. I thought so. Can we maybe fix it a little bit? I don't know if people can hear.
The fans are causing a lot of noise.
It's the fans.
Turn off the fans.
Okay, we can turn the fans off. We can get a little bit fun in Portuguese in here. Okay, so before we move on to the next question, I'm curious if anyone owns an ordinal, if anyone has a Bitcoin NFT, can you raise your hands if you do? Okay, 3, 4 people. Awesome. So then perhaps we can start off by identifying like what is a Bitcoin NFT and what is the difference between that and an ordinal. So Mark, do you want to kind of compare those two?
Well, I'm curious, who's heard about ordinals before? Like, you might not have them, but you have heard of ordinals. Anybody? Wow, the same number of people.
Okay.
All right, so ordinals essentially arrived in February, more or less, January, February of this year. And for the first time, people would store pretty much arbitrary amounts of data into a Bitcoin block. So up to 4 megabytes per block, basically, in theory. And this was sort of because of Taproot that was introduced before and some sort of protocol developments that came after that. And so with that, you can store what you want as far as NFTs, any kind of data object, really. Bitcoin, which is, of course, known to be like the best, sort of longest standing way to store digital money, now has the possibility of being the best way to store digital data of any type. And so since February, we've seen this really huge boom, really, within the Bitcoin ecosystem around ordinals and people launching NFT projects where the actual NFT data, like the images, are stored on-chain on Bitcoin. It's kind of expensive, as you might imagine, because you have to actually get that data included into a block on Bitcoin. But you get the security of storing the data on Bitcoin, which we view as the most secure blockchain. And instead of having like a pointer to your ownership is sort of like, well, on-chain, I own this, but the actual thing I don't own is off-chain, maybe on IPFS, which is very common, for example, on Ethereum. The data with ordinals is on-chain. And so you get the sort of security of using Bitcoin, plus you get the sort of all-in package of having it on-chain. And so it should sort of stand the test of time. The idea is if you store something with ordinals today, in 10 years, there's probably the highest likelihood that it's still there versus storing on other chains. And so that's sort of the innovation that we've all sort of seen take place this year and that we're trying to build around.
Awesome. And I'm going to throw a question at you, Brian. Some people talk about digital artifacts. Is that the same as ordinals? Is it different? Where does this come from? Kind of, yeah, just so people have a little bit of clarity.
Yeah, I think Casey, the creator of Ordinals Protocol, he's leaned more towards calling them digital artifacts. I think potentially to let them grow on their own path. You know, NFTs had a great bull cycle in 2021, and then it's been a bit of a struggle since then. So I think that we wanted to try and veer away from that term, but essentially it's NFTs on Bitcoin. As a primary way. You've seen a lot of collections and things coming from Ethereum and Solana who are dabbling now and getting their they're creating like 100 special collection of their, like a subset of their collection, and they're now launching on Bitcoin as well. But it's much more than just digital collectibles. You're seeing a lot of different use cases. There's fungible tokens there. People are building whole decentralized news systems there, so you can inscribe news articles there, completely censorship resistant, totally on-chain. So there's a whole amazing bunch of use cases that we're seeing happening there. So I think that's why it's all kind of termed digital artifacts rather than NFTs.
Awesome, yeah. And since February, we've seen over 10 million ordinals inscribed, which is
16 million by this point.
60 million? Okay.
Yeah, 16
And that's
million.
like in the last month, so that's gone up.
Yeah, so I think we're averaging around 1 million a month now at this point.
So it's pretty impressive, and you know, people are calling this the Bitcoin Renaissance. We also have Vitalik that's even saying that this ordinals has really changed the ecosystem for Bitcoin builders, and you know, we're seeing so much. Why is this so exciting for Bitcoin? Like, what are you seeing? What have we seen so far? What is happening? Curious if you guys can give a few examples of how we got here.
Yeah, I can take it. I mean, I think from my perspective, you know, launching something on Ethereum and then now launching something on Bitcoin, people's eyes light up a little bit more when you mention Bitcoin. I think it's just it's the godfather of all blockchains, right? It all started there, and there's a really nice term I like to hear people say is that all roads lead back to Bitcoin as well. So we had a lot of great use cases happen on Ethereum. Solana's been fantastic for gaming and different things like that. Vitalik himself is a Bitcoiner. You know, he started on Bitcoin and he went and done the Ethereum project because of the lack of smart contracts. He had other ideas and he wanted to go build it there. So yeah, I think that building stuff on Bitcoin just has a little bit of an edge to building anywhere else. Like, my mum knows what Bitcoin is, right? She has no idea what Ethereum is, so there's just a whole level of attention that Bitcoin commands. And then obviously from the technical perspective, you've got the security layer of Bitcoin. It's the most secure blockchain that exists since it's been around so long and the nature of how it's built. So there's a whole security layer there that's basically unmatched on any other blockchain. I'm not sure if any other things to say about it.
I mean, I'd say that I think, you know, we're saying that Bitcoin's the most secure. That sounds great, like security's good. But for a long time, that also meant it was very conservative and there wasn't a lot of experimentation. It's sort of a slow-moving blockchain, and the culture develops to sort of discourage innovation, like trying new things and seeing how it go. Because people were so protective of the security of Bitcoin that they thought that anything that sort of challenged that or sort of opened up the frontiers of what you could do with it might undercut the security. I think what we're seeing with ordinals is there's actually sort of a landscape. You can go out and experiment on Bitcoin without permission and not actually change the security model of Bitcoin at all. So it's like you have now the chance to have innovation on Bitcoin in a very experimental way. We're seeing all these crazy projects sprout up every week. And they all share the same sort of development environment on chain where there's no way that it could actually make the security worse for Bitcoin. So we're sort of seeing philosophically this light bulb go off with lots of people for the first time and saying, oh, you can have both worlds. You don't have to have one versus the other. You can do both.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's so much, people are saying Bitcoin is becoming fun again, right? So I'm curious if you can maybe, share a few examples of projects that you really like or that you see like really moving the space. I don't know, we've seen a lot going on lately, so maybe you want to kick it off and tell us. Sorry, Julian.
Yeah, so as you said, it made Bitcoin fun again. So before we've had like less development on Bitcoin, people coming to Ethereum, Solana, and we've had a lot of great projects building on ordinals, building infrastructure for ordinals. We have the people here, we have Brian, we have Mark from Hiro, we have Hamza from NeoSwap, us from Liquidium, we have few collections like non-financial advice, of course, but we've got Ordinals, Maxbis, they are the CryptoPunks of the Ordinals. And I think there's so much fun to build in this community of like people who want to bring the whole Bitcoin ecosystem forward. And that's why, according to my opinion, it made Bitcoin fun again. And it's needed for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the store of value for money transferring and so on, but Bitcoin needed that push of development, that influx of developers coming back to the mother chain. And that's my take on that. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would like to add that since January, we have seen some massive adoption of community to the blockchain, Bitcoin particularly. And I think through Ordinals, everyone has been building since February like including Hiro and lots of our CTO basically didn't sleep for the next 3 days since we heard about ordinals. And we have seen some massive builders working full-time to get the technology out for users to test that. And it was really interesting because ordinals was not born from a let's say a platform. It didn't have any marketing. It was just a technology that was discovered. And then everyone was sort of building in there, and then the community was growing. And as Ileana mentioned, we were like on beyond 10 million, I think we're at 16 million inscriptions. And we're still trying to figure out how we can bring more buyers to ordinals, and this is part of NeoSwap where you could have auctions and have users bid on different pieces. And I would like to add that both Bitcoin NFTs and ordinals have differences, and they need to coexist together because Bitcoin NFTs provide smart contracts, and we can do lots of creative things around them, DeFi, DAOs, and ordinals have a very unique application that we will be looking and we will be discovering more technologies growing from that, and I'm really excited to see that in the upcoming months because everyone's building at a high speed in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
I think talking of high speed, we're seeing so much going on right now. BRC20s, we have recursive inscriptions. What do we think is coming up next? What is developing, and what's the next few months looking like, I guess?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I mean, it has been non-stop since February. Like, I've not slept properly in like 3 months. But I think that's also really exciting for me is because it's a really new space. There's a lot of excitement coming into Bitcoin. We've been hiring Ordinals bot as well, and most of the devs are saying, oh, I actually started on Bitcoin. I went to other chains because people on Bitcoin are just arguing and not really doing anything. All the Bitcoin maxis are just talking and not actually moving things forward. So a huge amount of devs went to other chains because things were actually happening there. And now they're really happy to see that it can come back. So there's a ton of work to be done. You know, there's no smart contracts in the Ordinals ecosystem on Bitcoin in total. So there's a lot of innovation trying to get squeezed through a small hole right now because, like I say, there's no smart contracts. So you're trying to just get it going and get it out there as quickly as possible. So we're seeing a lot of innovation that way, a lot of people testing and throwing stuff to the wall to see what sticks. And BRC20 is a perfect example of that. That was just one guy who had an idea to inscribe a JSON text file with a protocol round about it, like a set of rules round about it, and it just exploded from there. And now we've seen like 80% of the inscriptions are now all BRC20 inscriptions. So that was just born from a little idea, and we see a lot of that happening as well. In terms of the future, it's really hard to say. I would like to see more builders come into the space. I'd like to see more people working on the ORD protocol itself. Right now, there's only 2 main maintainers, a couple of people from external projects, but 2 main maintainers. So I'd like to see more people building on top of that and building out the infrastructure. We're trying to do it in Ordinals bot from an API level and build kind of consumer-facing API stuff to allow builders to come in and build on top of what we're doing. But yeah, I think if you've got a project on another chain or you're just interested in building something in blockchain and you've never done it before, definitely have a look at launching something on Ordinals or on Bitcoin in general. It's a tough barrier to entry, but you'll be really early into the ecosystem. You've got a chance to make a mark there and then potentially grow something huge. If it plays out like we think it will play out and Ordinals become a real huge ecosystem comparable to Solana or Ethereum, then it's definitely good to get in now and get in early.
So if anyone else over here wants to take it, I believe both of your projects are in beta testing as well right now, so perhaps you can share what's coming up next. Julian?
Yeah, so for me it's like, kind of create an easy way of DeFi on Bitcoin layer 1. We are close beta testing since 2 days, and what we want to create for the future is that you can have that you can use DeFi on Bitcoin layer 1 with simple smart contracts using PSBTs. It's kind of technical, partially signed Bitcoin transaction, and DLCs, discrete log contracts, and to create an economy there so people are able to use DeFi on Bitcoin layer 1. We are beta testing as of right now, so people can put up their ordinals as collateral. Other people, they can accept offers, and we want to build like a easy-to-use P2P lending service where also lenders can set bids on different collections to have like instant P2P loans and so on. I think this is just a fraction of what's going to happen in the future regarding other stuff like, for example, explain about what you're doing on NeoSwap. I mean, you have also a lot planned. I mean, there's so much you can explore and you can do, and I think, there's no limit to it. So
I would like to add on that. So at NeoSwap, we have launched an AI product, actually resonating to what the other panelists were talking about, AI and how you can connect that. So what we are doing is basically on Stacks and Solana, we can read users' wallets, and then you can click a button and you will get a proposed trade to you. Would you like to get these NFTs for these NFTs and some Ethereum or Stacks or Solana? And we're bringing that to Bitcoin with Ordinals. So imagine you connect your Bitcoin wallet with Hiro wallet, Express, whatever, and then you could get proposed NFTs using your own preferences and your NFT collecting desires that you have basically on your collections. So that's actually coming, and we're building that on Bitcoin, and it's going to be fun.
I think I've got to say as well, I think at next year's Blockdown conference, I think a lot more of you have your hands up. That's what the future will be of Ordinals. I think that it's so early right now. You're literally talking February is when this thing all happens, so it's not surprising a lot of you have not heard all this stuff is happening on Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure a lot of you think, oh, Bitcoin's this legacy chain. Yes, it's good for payments. It might be the thing that people will do in payments. Maybe some of you have heard of Lightning before as well, which is a great advancement of Bitcoin, instant Bitcoin payments. It's just really, really new right now. I think that as the infrastructure grows and the tools and more projects start to build on top of it, it'll become a lot more robust, and then you'll start to see a lot more people talking about it. But yeah, if you like getting in early on things, like I say, now's the time, basically.
And Mark, I'm curious also from a wallet perspective, right? You have so many different projects that are, of course, using it. Are you seeing anything from the communities that they're asking for? Anything from the wallet side?
Yeah, I mean, the community right now, because it's so early, there's so much to do. And from a wallet point of view, that's multiplied even more because we have to provide a base level experience that then supports application experiences. And so, last 6 months we've really sprinted to put together the base level sort of ordinals. How do you interact with ordinals? How do you create them? How do you buy them, sell them, send them? But the experience is still quite technical in the sense of users with PSBTs, like you were mentioning. Users have to sort of wrap their head around how Bitcoin works, which most of us don't know and don't care about how it works. And so as a wallet provider, we have to make it dead simple and very easy for anyone to understand. And so that's still ahead of us. I also think we just went through a period where the more obvious things were created with ordinals. So you have image-based NFTs, like we all know, monkeys. We had domain names, like ENS, but registered on Bitcoin. And we also have BRC20, which are ERC20, but on Bitcoin. So people are sort of minting, launching all sorts of tokens by using Bitcoin. Those are sort of the more obvious primitives, if you will, the sorts of things you expect people to create when it comes to a new sort of design space. But now I think we have a lot more experimentation in areas that aren't as obvious. And so I think in the next 6 months, it's even harder for us to predict what are the things that people are going to create and are going to take off. There are some interesting things around games. There's one called Ord Games, where people are storing essentially game objects and interactions on Bitcoin. So you can have the state of a game secured by Bitcoin, and so no one can mess with it. There's also something called Bitmap, which is interesting because if you think about the metaverse, I know that term these days, we don't really use it. If you think about this idea of a virtual physical world, one day we'll have virtual property, we'll have spaces that we go through with VR, all that. Think about what's the foundation of that. In the physical world, well, we think about, it's sort of nation states secure it based on physical space. But in the sort of future sort of metaverse, if you will, what's the foundation? And so Bitmap is an attempt to say, well, we're actually going to have land claims for the future construction of a metaverse, but based on Bitcoin blocks. And people will be able to sort of speculate as far as going out there and claiming land and then trade and then build on top of it. And that's all super new. I mean, Bitmap might not go anywhere, but I think these are the sorts of experiments that are starting to take place. And again, as a wallet provider, it's about trying to recognize the ones that are emerging and making sure that we meet users and developers where they're at so that as users go between the apps and the wallets, with a very seamless and usable experience, and they're not seeing JSON files. They're not seeing UTXOs. They see the things that they want to get or interact with, and that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and I think a conversation that is definitely happening right now is questioning scalability, and the more users, the more projects, the more applications, etc. Is there a problem, or is there an opportunity for Bitcoin? And go for it.
Blockchain technology, no matter what chain it's on, has got its own issues. You've got speed, security, these main components that build up a blockchain. And Bitcoin itself has the security thing locked down, bar none. It's the best at that. But it does have 10-minute block times, and these blocks can go beyond 10 minutes if it's congested. I'm not a fan of changing Bitcoin at all. I don't think Bitcoin has a problem. I think Bitcoin is an elegant, beautiful bit of technology that shouldn't be changed. So I'm all for pushing the boundaries of what we can do with it, especially without smart contracts. So really pushing the boundaries of Bitcoin L1 as far as we can go. And that's been more obvious than in the last few months because of Ordinals, because now we've got marketplaces, you've got lending protocols, AI, wallets, and whole new tools that are being built on top of Bitcoin without smart contracts and with the limitations it's already got. So it's hard to say if it's got problems. I don't think it has. I think that there'll be projects that come into the space that will demand speed or something else that Bitcoin can't provide. Maybe some more complex logic that you can't do with password signed Bitcoin transactions. You just need a smart contract for, and you can't do that on Bitcoin. So I think that there'll be a natural progression and potentially an explosion of L2s and larger protocols being built on top of Bitcoin and using Bitcoin as the base layer of security. So you get the benefits of all the security and that Bitcoin brings, but then you can build on top of it either protocols or entire layer 2s like stacks on top of it to really cater for those people who need these fast block times and then also smart contract functionality. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Awesome. Does anyone else have anything to add before I ask my final question? Because I see we're almost at time, but if not, I'm going to do a quick fire round. Yeah, happy? Okay, so we see 4 people in this audience today, right? They have Ordinals or Bitcoin NFTs. If they are curious to learn or want to get involved, perhaps you could share 1 or 2 of your favorite, projects, influencers, Twitter space hosts, whatever. Like, where would you send them to get into it?
Yeah,
Go from the end. Let's go from the end.
Yeah, so I start. First of all, check out Sattribute's art. They're in the gallery down there.
Yes.
They're doing pretty cool stuff on Ordinals. Check out their 3D kind of glasses. I'm bullish on them. Non-financial advice, of course. In general, I'm seeing the whole ecosystem evolve, and we have so many great projects, and it's not easy to pick the right one. But we have people here. We have NeoSwap. We have Hiro. We have Satoshibles. We have Ordinals, we have us, also friends of us building marketplaces on Gamma. We have influential people like BitGod, like Trevor Owens, Leonidas. And I think, those people are helping to move the Bitcoin space forward. And there are a lot of more projects, but I would be sitting here until tomorrow if I want to tell you all of them. So. It's your turn.
Well, I don't like really recommending projects, but I would say go ahead and test it yourself. Like basically, you have tools already, like Ordinals Vault, you can inscribe an Ordinal. We have seen people inscribing pictures of their families. We have seen people inscribing Bibles. There's like really interesting stuff that's inscribed and is going to live forever. And because this is really different than NFTs. NFTs rely on IPFS. IPFS could be destroyed at some point, while Bitcoin is going to stay forever. And you can imagine like what people have been inscribing over the last months. So go ahead, test it out, check it out, and then do your own research. These projects are really nice. I'll definitely check them out. On-chain monkeys, for sure, Sattributes, Bitcoin Punks as well. There's some great, I would say, NFT, you should never call them NFTs. They're digital artifacts that you could find in the Ordinals world, basically.
You go? Oh, I was going to say, there's a ton of projects happening right now, but I think if you want to just dive into Ordinals and get going with it, the Ordinals core team have a Discord, They call it the Ordicord, actually, and that's a great point of entry there. There's a ton of kind of documentation and there's channels where you can ask. There's a dev chat. I would definitely recommend joining the Ordinals project Discord. And then if you're a fan of Twitter Spaces, you mentioned Trevor Owens and Leonidas. These are two kind of really influential people in the space. They actually host the Ordinals show twice a week. I would definitely check that out. They have some great guests on there, and they really dive into Ordinals and Bitcoin especially, and talk about where it's going to go. So that's a great resource. DM me, like I can talk about this stuff non-stop, you know, so dump in my DMs, I'm happy to talk to you. We've got a Discord as well. But yeah, I think right now it's all about people are really trying to figure out like, what is this thing on Bitcoin? And then when they get there, like, this is not, normally I've got smart contracts, normally I can go to Etherscan and I can track everyone's transactions. Like Bitcoin is a different beast altogether. You know, it has UTXOs and it has different things, and the Explorer is like some sort of a NASA project to try and figure out where the transactions are going. So it is a real barrier to entry, but if you slowly learn that, but at the same time enjoy the wave that we're having right now of creativity and people are excited, join the spaces and then ask questions. We're really in an early phase of just like, there's no dumb questions, everyone's welcome, let's get excited and let's build stuff, basically is where we're at right now.
Yeah, you sniped mine, so.
That's why I got in before you.
So I would also recommend the Ordinals show, Twitter/the Ordinals show. The people who run that are like probably the most like ears to the ground about what's going on with Ordinals. So if you have the time, if you listen to that, you'll sort of glean what's going on. There's also a company called Trust Machines. So also on Twitter/Trust Machines. It's a Bitcoin-oriented company that's looking to advance the Bitcoin digital economy in various ways. And they put out Twitter threads that are good sort of one-on-ones for what's going on in Ordinals and also other technologies on Bitcoin. Because it's not just about Ordinals. We mentioned briefly before, there's like an alternative called Stamps going on Bitcoin, which has a different technique to how it stores data on Bitcoin. There are things like DLCs, which are sort of like this new thing in Bitcoin that we're trying to build around. There are a number of technologies that we're all sort of investigating. If you sort of tune in to the Ordinals show or Trust Machines, you'll get sort of a good sense of what's going on. And then I might also just mention like Dune Analytics is fantastic. If you want to just get a sense of like the volume, like by the numbers, what are people actually doing? If you go to Dune Analytics and just search for Ordinals dashboards or reports, you'll see the trends here. So don't trust us. We're in this. We're biased. But if you look there, you'll see there's like impressive numbers as far as the actual value being put into Ordinals and how it's actually changing over the months as far as the types of things people are using it for. So quantitatively, that's a great resource.
Thank you. Before I let you guys wrap up, if there are any questions, we have a few minutes. In case anyone wants to say anything or has any follow-ups, there should be a microphone somewhere. Yep, in the back.
You get your microphone.
Do we have a microphone?
Should we ask now that we've talked about it, who wants an Ordinal?
Yeah, exactly.
Is anyone going to guess?
Yes. Hello, good morning. Bitcoin's main use case is being the base layer of a new deflationary monetary system, right? So store of value, peer-to-peer payment system, etc. How do you see Ordinals and NFTs affecting this primary mission of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I would just say I view it as additive. I don't view it as like substitutional. I don't think it's either that or something else. And like I was saying before, like Ordinals isn't changing the fundamental model of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what it is. There haven't been any radical changes. With Taproot, there was this opportunity created to store more data per transaction. But I guess my belief here is that if you want a future economy that is essentially underpinned by Bitcoin, it makes sense to have also other derivative assets securely stored in the same manner with the same system. And so it would be hard for me to envision a future Bitcoin economy without something like this, frankly, now that I've seen the potential of Ordinals.
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly right. We use the two words, Bitcoin economy. you know, Bitcoin's vision is heading in that direction. There is no Bitcoin without a use case for it. And as soon as all the Bitcoin gets mined, what have we got to use it on? So we need more builders in the space, more people really pushing the boundaries and thinking outside the box and using it in different ways, not just for payments, but now this whole data layer has emerged. Now Bitcoin is now a player in the data space, you know. So that's a really interesting concept, and I think that the more people come into this space, the better. And you know, I get all the time, oh, what are ordinals? You know, it's only blocking up, and it's kind of what do you call it? The fees are going up and everything. And I'm like, good. You know, we should be stress testing the network. You know, I'd rather stress test Bitcoin with monkey JPEGs than wait until the whole world economy collapses and then 6 billion people have to use it. You know, so it's like, let's try and push the boundaries of L1, really stress test it, see where the bottlenecks are and what we can improve. Not changing it too much, you know, just changing it if at all or where it makes sense. And then these are great topics to discuss. You know, I think there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of opinions over the last 4 or 5 years, but not enough happening. And then with ordinals, you've got a lot of innovative and creative projects coming in who don't have patience to talk. They just want to get stuff out there and see what works. And that's just driving a lot forward for Bitcoin in general. So I think that, for me, it's a lot of net positives for Bitcoin rather than negatives. And I think that it's opening up a lot of interesting discussions.
Hey there. So with that, when Ordinals launched earlier, and there was such a craze for everyone to get them, the Bitcoin network was absolutely throttled. And there's a lot of talk with block size. Are you a proponent for increasing the block size, keeping it, adding layer 2s, adding, you know, different sort of technologies to that? How do you move forward when we're living in a kind of a crypto eco bubble here? And sort of looking, you know, to the future when we've got more people coming into the industry, what are you going to do to sort of move that forward?
Yeah, I mean, the block space debate has been around long before Ordinals. There was a whole sidechain devoted to it, you know, when it really fragmented the Bitcoin community. As I say, I'm not a fan of changing it at all. I think that it's there for a reason. You know, the block size is not random, it's deterministic. So the stuff is mined in a certain amount of time, and that adds to the whole security of the network. So I'm not for changing anything about Bitcoin necessarily. Ordinals as they are today are not efficient. You know, as I say, we've just been throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what sticks. We're inscribing human readable data. There's no need for it to be human readable. There's a lot more efficient ways to inscribe stuff on Bitcoin. So I think that's more the conversation that should be happening. Is like, okay, what can we build on Bitcoin and how do we do it really efficiently? And then when it gets to that point where it's like, listen, we're really maxing it out here, I want some more functionality, then I would be really an advocate of looking into an L2 and seeing, you know, can we offload the hard work to an L2 but still benefit and keep Bitcoin ticking over and have that security use case and essentially just use it what it's good for, which is security and kind of a scale of it and storing stuff on chain.
Yeah, I would also add into that one of the main reasons why the Bitcoin chain has halted was because of the BRC20 transactions. And in terms of size, we already see like innovation. We have recursive inscription, which sort of touch and try to solve the size of inscriptions that you're adding into the Bitcoin blocks. And we will be seeing more of this because, I mean, this is just 6 months of period of time, and we are seeing so many technologies. And I'm very bullish that there will be more innovation happening around Bitcoin, solving both like inscription problems, sizes problems, compression problems as well. We have files that could be very big, like for example, videos that we could inscribe, but right now it's a problem. And I think, yeah, there will be more in the upcoming future, and we have devs working on this and exploring solutions. Yeah.
Yes.
I think
I agree
there
with
was one more question over there. Oh no.
Last few months, we all of us saw the ordinals fever, and we are on a bear market. So when the bull market comes, when the new people comes to the network, how do you think the network will work? With the spike we saw, the miners getting all that fees, was impossible to transact Bitcoin that 3-4 days of the fever. The fees were so high. So when the next bull market come, how do you think the network will support this inflow of information to the network?
Yeah, well, I think they kind of answer it in some ways. Is my mic on? I think the answer is basically L2s. Like the other question.
Lightning Network and...
well, Lightning, Stacks, Rootstock. There will be other ones soon. I think it's a matter of just time. There's a lot of innovation going on with ZK rollups and other ideas.
ZK rollups on Bitcoin?
Sorry, what's that?
ZK rollups on Bitcoin?
Yes, exactly. So ZK rollups for Bitcoin are being basically looked into and developed. Is that sooner versus later? I couldn't tell you. It's still quite early. But I think, yeah, back to the other question around block size, you could double it, you could make it 4 times as much. It's sort of just a cat and mouse game. You're going to have the same problem quite soon. And so other layers, whatever they are, and there'll probably be a plethora of layers, need to come online and be reliable and be secure and be battle tested, all these things, for us during future bull markets to really rely on them for scalability. So, I mean, this is obviously since I joined crypto, this is like the topic that keeps recurring, right? Scalability, scalability, scalability. And it matters when it really matters, right, with bull runs. And I think Bitcoin, now we're actually seeing that as like something that really matters for Bitcoin, right? So fees have gone up this year a lot, but good or bad. I think that's fantastic. That means like people care, people value it. And so now it's our job to give them more layers that actually work. And so Stacks, for example, there's a big upgrade being worked on to have like a trustless peg from Bitcoin into Stacks. And so you don't have to worry about a change or a diminishing security budget. And then from a wallet provider, it's top priority for us to make that completely seamless. So you can go from having Bitcoin on Bitcoin, the blockchain as an L1, essentially peg it into Stacks, use it with smart contracts and applications, and bring it back. But that's all work that's being done right now. And so in some ways, we all want the next bull run to be here tomorrow, but in some ways, we're still preparing for it with that sort of tech.
Guys, just one more question. Can we expect to see smart contracts on Bitcoin in some time in the future?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I think there's an interesting sort of design research space there, but I couldn't tell you whether that's likely or a good thing. I think I maybe share your view. Like, my default is let's make sure we do protect Bitcoin security budget, right? We shouldn't open things up so much that things start to fall apart as far as like what's the best about Bitcoin. But there might be ways to do that with ordinals or other changes. But I couldn't tell you with any confidence that again is a good thing or likely to happen soon.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we are at time, so before we wrap it up, just if anyone's looking to find you, where's best to contact you, and yeah.
Yeah, just come to me. We can exchange contact at JJ_BTC on Telegram, Liquidium.fi on Twitter, and yeah, that's it. Happy to connect.
Yeah, for me, you can find me Hamza Diaz BTC on Twitter, and yeah, we can chat anytime. I'll be around here in the conference. Really nice conference, by the way, to whoever organizing it, and yeah.
Yeah, so guessing. Am I on?
Yeah.
Just show it. All right. So as far as the wallet, you can find us. We're Hiro Wallet. That's Hiro. It's not like the superhero. On Twitter /Hiro Wallets, or it's wallet.hiro.so if you want to try us out. And I also recommend just give it a go. Install the wallets. Go to Ordinals bot, inscribe your first Ordinal. Go to Gamma, which is another app. Trade them. Personally, if you want to find me, it's also easy. I'm Marky Mark on Twitter, so /Marky Mark. Easy.
Yeah, so if you're interested in launching a collection on Ordinals, or you want to just dabble and drag and drop a file, that's exactly what we do. You go to our website, you drag and drop a file, and then we essentially inscribe it for you, and you get an Ordinal. So check out ordinalsbot.com and jump in our Discord. And I go by Bruffstar on the interwebs everywhere, so you can find me then. That PFP is like everywhere. I actually inscribed it at like Ordinal number 1116. So like now we're at 16 million Ordinals, and I inscribed my PFP at 1,000, so pretty happy with that. But yeah, reach out.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you guys for being brilliant guests. And we will hand the stage back over. Thank you.
Guys. Thank you.